All right, we're back with another We Draw Conclusions.
Zoom.
Zoom edition. Yes, not in person. So, as we always do, you get to start with your art section. What do you
That's
got? Oh,
me. That's me. All right. So today, we're not really going to be going into like painting and drawing and that kind of stuff. Like,
okay.
so remember our second episode where we talked about like horror film and movies?
Yes, genre kind of.
Which
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, so film and movie, obviously that's a type of art. So, and obviously my art section, even though I am a painter and drawer, like I don't always talk about just art in that realm. I like talking about it outside of like my own like expertise and stuff like that. So today we're talking about TV shows and movies, mainly TV shows, but specifically three of them that I have like little bullet points for. So first one is Black Mirror.
Okay, I haven't seen some of them, not all of them. Sorry,
Okay. Yeah, and then second one is Euphoria.
I saw some of them, not all of them.
And then third one is The Idol.
The Idol.
The Idol.
Do I know that one? I don't even
I
know
don't
if I
think
know
you
that one.
do,
Okay,
but
wow.
but
Okay,
I'm very happy to tell you all the tea.
okay. Is it okay? I guess
Yeah.
you're supposed to know. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll get into it. So first, the first one is Black Mirror. So you have seen some episodes of that. We watched some of them together.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that, but yes.
Have you enjoyed your experience watching some of them?
Yes, there are fascinating studies of people getting them and like possible future based on current technology if taken to an extreme kind of thing.
Yeah,
So like ones that I remember were the social credit score, basically, which kind
knows
of
that.
almost right. The first one that was one of the first ones we watched. One with I think it's Bryce Dallas Howard or something, where she
Yeah,
had a great credit score and she was all nice to people, and then she was trying to make this trip, and then she just kept running into worse and worse things, and her credit score went down, and then she became this total outcast, and then she just lost it, and then just totally tanked her score and blah blah blah. That I
yeah.
remember
But
that
then
one.
with that, she could actually be her real self and actually
Yes.
like insult people.
Yes. The other one was other one I remember a lot was they were you would play video games to like keep your score up so that you could buy stuff and do stuff. Do you remember that one? It
Yeah,
was weird. That yeah, that's another one I remember. But
that one was weird.
most, I mean, they're all. I don't know if they're all, but all the ones that I can remember were very dystopian. Oh, there's a really gross one with the dude with the goat and the stuff and the.
Yeah,
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah, that one. And then like I'm also thinking like some other popular ones. Do you remember oh gosh, what was it called? It was like White Bear, I think it was called. It
I
was
don't
that
know.
it was like the second season. Oh my gosh, you might not have seen this. Oh, it's crazy. So
Okay, white.
basically there's this woman and she so like she like you're following her perspective for like the first half of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like in this area, she wakes up and she does not remember who she is.
Oh, I do remember this one. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah. And then
yeah,
it
yeah.
turns out she's like a criminal, and
Criminal. Yeah,
yeah,
and then
and
yeah, she's just
so
suffering for the crime that she committed.
yeah, but then it's like
Yeah,
for other people's entertainment, and it's like,
yeah.
and
And
then
then they
it
reset
starts
her so she
over and
doesn't
over
know.
again.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. That one was yes. I do
yeah.
remember that one.
And I think it also touched on like the themes of like an eye for an eye because like the crime that she committed was like she was videoing and watching something happen, and then
Mm-hmm.
therefore people are videoing when watching things happen to her. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that was definitely interesting. And then recent ones we saw Lock Henry,
Oh
the Doc
yes, yes,
Henry one, and then
yes.
like the oh my gosh, what was it? Beyond the Sea or something like that, where like the two astronauts, whatever, and they can like go back to their lives on Earth, but through like I kind of like
Yeah,
AI.
like yeah, transporting your consciousness from being to being. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
they do bring up interest. I guess it's not only dystopian, but it ends up being dystopian, but interesting thoughts on technology and philosophical points
it's more
often.
exactly. I think like as the seasons have gone on, it's become a lot more philosophical than it is dystopian and like that kind of thing. Now it's more just like questioning everything. Like before, it was kind of there was like a certain like central point of focus on what you should be questioning, which was technology
Oh,
and
sure.
how it
Okay.
affects society. But now recently, it's become a lot more of just questioning literally everything and just life itself, and it's become more broad for sure. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Yes.
And so I bring that one up because I feel that I'm just kind of looking back at like the seasons and how like the themes have kind of progressed from there. It's kind of it kind of just shows the effect that, you know, like building a larger audience can how that can affect how the directors will create their stuff and like what they end up changing about like what originally it was, you know? Like you see like how it started as something that like had a really clear like, you know, messaging, and it like had clear like focal points for discussion that like the director was interested in. But now with so many other people that are watching it, they're like, oh, we need to take into account what those people want too. And in order to reach that wider audience, you have to have a wider concept or a wider messaging, and therefore it feels less focused.
It makes sense. So like, does that that automatically obviously leads me to your art? Like, do you do like there's two aspects of it, right? Do you run out of ideas? Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you run out of ideas, or you know, or ways to interact with your primary theme, or like I don't know what you call it, but you know, like you have a right now are exploring identity as a Japanese American person. What that's part of you anyway. But
Yeah.
like, can you run out of ideas in that regard, or should you run out of ideas can you beat that thing to death, or you know, like a show could do, or do you like based on your reaction, the reaction or reception that you get, would you change what you're doing, or like I get it seems like, I mean, any art form could run into this either running overdoing the one topic that you have,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, because you run out of ideas almost like kind of thing, or are you trying to cater to an audience that you didn't expect to be working with?
So me personally, I don't think that I can ever run out of ideas. Um,
Okay.
I don't think I can. But if I take too much into account other people's ideas, then I will run out of my own ideas. Right. So I think that there is a line that needs to be crossed between, you know, losing your own ideas and then losing ideas in general and losing ideas from like other people. Like there's always going to be ideas from other people. That's an endless supply. Um but like and then but at the same time you're and therefore it would only be logical for that to be the same for you. Like you can never run out of ideas yourself. But if you take so much into account, like if you cater too much to everybody else and their ideas, then your ideas get lost, and then you have less time to think about your ideas and then form your own ideas, and then therefore it feels like you've lost your own ideas. Yeah.
So, I guess the only like the and I like this. I don't know if I'm giving you, like hexing you or giving you bad luck or something. But like you say, you can't run out of ideas. But then plenty of people like run into you run into artist block. You've even had that, like you were at home. So how does that map?
So well, artist block, it's not necessarily the running out of ideas, it's running out of the
Oh,
motivation.
oh,
That's the part that, yeah. So artist block is not running out of ideas. That's the myth. I have like a whole self-help book on like treating artist block. And the main block of artist block is the mentality. It's
mm,
not at all like what you're physically able to do. Like you're physically able to do whatever it is that you built yourself up to do, whatever you've trained yourself to do. Like I know that I can whip out ideas like crazy, I can draw like crazy, I can paint like crazy, I can do that stuff. But the artist block is that lack of motivation. It's your mental state and like where you are at and how you're feeling about your work and how much you feel comfortable putting in. It's also like the fear again of what other people are thinking and the fear of other people's ideas infiltrating your own.
okay, okay. That
Yeah.
makes that seems that makes a lot of sense to me. I think, as I always say, I think it makes sense to me.
Well, yeah,
So
I
then,
mean, it doesn't it can't it's hard for you to apply that obviously to your own life. So it's hard for you to kind of like see that, but you can understand for me at least.
yeah, yeah, no, I can understand how. Well, I really understand the part where the block is really in the concern of like questioning yourself more than questioning what that you have ideas or not. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that, like I understand what you're saying. It's not whether you have ideas or whether you can paint or draw, whether you can do something. It's like, is this what I should be doing? Is this like is this the kind of thing that I want to put out? Will anyone understand it? Well, about all the things that are internal to you and cause you to think about not the ideas and not the work. It's thinking about, what's going to happen to them more so than doing them.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I mean, obviously artist block looks different for everybody, but I think that's the general kind of misconception that people have about it. It's not like artist block is not doubting it's, I mean, sure, the doubting of like your own skill might be like an aspect of it and might be sort of like an after effect of it, but the main thing that causes that is the actual problem, the root of the problem, which is the mental state and the motivation.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more, like, writer's block makes more sense in that regard, because like the person doesn't forget how to write words. They probably have tons of story ideas and like what a character could do and couldn't do, but then when they put it down, they're like questioning whether this is the right direction for it, or how will it be received, or does this make all these kind of self-doubting things, rather than the actual practice of the art is not difficult for them. It's just that the self-doubt that it creates.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so I mainly bring that up, and like I'm glad that we kind of like got into the artist block thing. It wasn't my plan originally, but like I mean it works. No, it works very well along with like what I have to talk about with like TV shows and stuff. Like clearly, like obviously these directors, they have a lot of the skill and the ideas that it takes to create like obviously a really successful show. I mean, it's one of the most popular ones to date for sure, but it's again, it's that kind of letting other people and like their audiences kind of take the wheel, and not even like like actual like audience members like coming and being like, hey, you should do this thing, or like having audience members actually come in and like say something. It's the idea itself of other people's ideas. It's the awareness of like other people and their own interests that you might not even know of, that you still want to somehow like accommodate.
So does that happen do you think that applies to you in any way? That's always my interest, is like, because you're thinking about these things, right? Mm-hmm. How an a wider audience, a new audience is affecting some other person's art, television art being an art form. Like, do you see that kind of, does that have any bearing on you? Like if you were got into certain galleries or got certain whatever, would you see that affecting you, like your audience affecting you? Or I'm only asking all this because I'm like, how I always want to connect your art stuff to you, because that's me. But
well, I know that you do, but like I also do, obviously, because I'm talking. Yeah, like you said, I'm talking about it. There's a reason why I think about the things that I do and talk about. Got it. Yes, of course. I mean, like what I just said, which is, it's I think it's part of my journey with like, first of all, understanding first and foremost what art block actually is and where it actually comes from, how I've been able to deal with that, and then therefore like how I am able to like actually tackle the issue, where like in the past I might have thought the issue was just me and like my inability to create something, when in fact it's me being self-conscious about like what other people, or just conscious of what other people think. I mean, and which I mean, that's going to happen. I don't think it's necessarily an issue that has like a pill that you can just like take and then it goes away. Like that's always going to be there, especially when you in a career where you have to put yourself out there and for a lot of people to perceive you and your work. But I think it's important for me to at least recognize those things in order to just go forward with a clear mind and not really let those things like get to me too much.
So then, so how these other shows that you've talked about, because like we said, Black Mirror has that thing where it, like it does feel different now. Like you're saying, if we looked at the earlier ones, it was, like you said, where technology, what technology would do to you. And then now it becomes more like, now it's like, now these technologies are in place, but philosophically, what are they doing with life? And philosophically, it was kind of philosophical before, because you had to watch or think about what was going to happen. But now it's even more
Yeah,
Go
well,
ahead.
because like originally it was the philosophy about the technology itself, but now that
Mm,
the technology is just like an assumed factor, it's not necessarily something that's more focused. It's just like in the background, and you just know it's there.
mhm.
Now that's in the background, then you can question more about like philosophy on morals and like moral compass and like the people and like all this stuff. And it's like I don't. Well, then I can just watch that in any other show that's about that. Like I don't. Then at that point then it just feels like a dystopia. Like I mean I think like earlier episodes felt less like a dystopia than they do now, in my opinion,
Mm,
because like at least in like the yeah, at least in like the earlier on, like there was that dystopian feeling, but there was somebody always addressing the issue. But now it's like they're not really addressing the issue. They're just like, oh, that's an issue, but it's there, but we're not really going to do anything about it. And
mm.
but we're gonna more question like our innermost selves and like whatever other concepts they want to explore.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, I think I have to watch more of them, and they are interesting enough. It just like because they're so focused on dystopia,
yeah,
they're hard to watch a lot of them, especially when I got so much other junk I have to do. I don't need
yeah.
to be depressed to do it.
Yeah, no, we don't we don't need to be let down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, but I wanted yeah, so I wanted to bring that up mainly to for the bullet point of yeah, it's catering to a wider audience and then therefore kind of losing its original kind of magic because
Hmm.
it's trying to appeal to too many people or too wide of a thing where like yes like and yeah, and again it applies to my work too of like I like obviously as an artist I do want more people to be exposed to my
Yeah,
work. That's
yeah.
important to me obviously, but I don't want it to get to a point where now I feel like I have to cater my work to people. I want to remain as I am where I just make work and then it reaches audiences just because that's how I wanted to. I'm not like trying to make people like it. I put it out there and then people just like it just because.
That's just hard though, right? I mean,
Well, yeah,
that's not
yes,
easy
yeah,
to do because your taste may not line up with people, and so it's really different. What if you were technically, if somebody was like really gifted at something, but the themes and the stuff that they want to explore just doesn't do not resonate with people. They may
hmm
be the most technically proficient artists, and no one will want to explore their work because it does not touch them at all.
yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how you deal with that.
Well,
I
yeah, and
guess
it's the same thing, vice versa. Like you don't not necessarily have to be technically skilled, but you might have concepts that like people will be drawn to. But because there's no technical skill there, then people are also less drawn to that.
ooh,
Like there's
yeah.
like we've discussed in very early episodes, there has to be a balance between the two.
So, but then how then you have difficulty in. I mean, is that why having an art career is so difficult because you don't know if you're gonna hit that spot and for how long like
Yeah,
that the length. Yeah, there's all kinds of variable factors.
yeah. Yeah, it's just a lot of pressure, like that kind of stuff, and kind of like trying not to try not to mix up your wants and needs with what other people want and need or what you think other people might want or need. That's an important distinction there. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, so that's
What do the other shows have to
yeah, so
offer
that's
us?
Black Mirror, and
Yep.
that's how that applies to
Cool.
my life and can apply to other people's life, and just for people to be aware of sort of that's why some like so many like popular TV shows like as they get revamped or as they continue on with seasons they have a different feel because
It's hard. It's interesting because you can take that to music and also
yeah,
other television shows that I think because or things where it starts off one way and the artist grows. Like this happens with podcasts and personal development kind of podcasts all the time. Is like
yeah,
they start on one topic and everyone's like, oh, that's interesting. Like something like note taking or some organizational system, and then they grow and then now they may look totally different because they're addressing totally different topics and people are like, but what happened to the old you? And you're like,
yeah,
well, that person is not that person anymore and they've grown, so
right,
how can they keep doing the same tactics they've already beat, they've already explored as much as they could? Maybe you just need a new voice to come along to help you in those old areas. And I mean that's a for both a a podcast kind of thing and a show kind of thing, it's like they, or like a musical person, they go through their stages, and they like they started off with teeny bopper music, and then they moved on to like more mature things, and then people will say, oh, but they've changed, and then, but well, how could they not have changed? They were 18 years old when they started, and now they're 30 something, and so their music should be different, but nobody wants it to be, or I don't. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, go.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, that's a really good point to bring up too, which we can talk about further on. But yeah, so yeah, the second one I had was Euphoria.
okay.
And so and so yeah, again, I'm not bringing these up because they're all similar necessarily, but
Oh,
just
that
because
wasn't similar. That was focused on a person, not, or like a life of a person. And that was disturbing for the
it's
2 or 3 episodes I
disturbing.
could
I
watch.
mean,
So
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So Euphoria, it's I mean, yeah, I'm sure many listeners and viewers have seen it already. It's very raunchy. It's basically just uh pornography. Like it's just straight up just yeah. And again, it's two like late 20s, 30-year-old women playing teenagers. Like that's just gross. And then yeah, and it's a whole mess, and the director used a mess, and it's all disgusting. But I bring that up because yeah, it's another kind of like thing that goes on in the art world of like, okay, like you're doing all these like really really crazy like out of the box kinds of ideas going on, like wow, like we get to see naked people and boobs and things and penises on a screen like in the public, like wow. But is again, it's the question of intent, like is that for shock value, or is that to actually say something or comment on something in society outside of just look at that.
I I I I couldn't, what I like, I guess maybe I didn't watch it enough, or maybe that's why I couldn't I
Couldn't watch it, yeah,
what were
I
they
remember.
trying to, I don't know what it was trying to, uh what view or message it was trying to impart. It was just like, just a lot of disturbing stuff that, like, wow, if people actually lived like this, is terrible. But other than that, and I didn't want to see a train wreck.
Yeah,
So what were they trying, I mean, what were they trying to, what that, the story was trying to impart, is I never could understand. So that's probably why I couldn't get into it. But what
yeah,
do you know, what they were trying to do with it, and why did people like it? What, did people just
yeah,
like it
yeah,
for the spectacle of the boobs and things like that? And I
yeah. So
remember
that's
that
the thing.
the
That's
her
yeah,
lesbian love interest was a trans dude, and that was like, okay, I mean, in the show, she was a lesbian with this girl, but the
mhm,
girl actor is a dude in real life,
yeah.
right? So it's like, I don't know if they were, what level of subverting the narrative they were trying to accomplish, but it got very deep and weird. And so I don't know what they were, if that was, even that was part of what they were trying to, the message that they were trying to impart.
Right, yeah. I mean, I've been around, I have, my peers who have like seen it and have actually enjoyed it.
Oh,
And yeah, I think you and I have discussed this like before, but like yeah, it's I mean, like okay, like just from what I've seen and just from like, watching the TV series from the perspective of like my peers and why they seem to enjoy it, the cinematography is stunning. The aesthetics of the entire show are beautiful, and the fashion is like yeah, it's stunning to look at. It really is. And the people are beautiful. Yeah, sure, but that's it. The substance of it, not
okay.
beautiful.
But were they? But did your peers find, like, maybe not you, but did your peers find beauty in the subject at all, or interest in the subject matter at all, or
So, as far as their interest, again, based on their already surface level, interest in like the beauty and the aesthetics of it, therefore they also had a, I feel, a more surface level kind of interest in the actual substance itself. I think you know, and because of that, because it had that surface level already layer of like it looks pretty, so therefore you should like it, then it in that sense it adds to this sort of layer of romanticizing all these terrible things and normalizing it to a sense,
Yeah.
and therefore kind of resulting in desensitization for viewers, just like,
Hmm.
oh, it looks pretty, so therefore whatever, that doesn't affect me.
That seems pretty like it seemed like at an art school they would try to get you not to do that though, or like or no. I would think you would have been like the like people would have been directed away from that superficial analysis of art from an art school. But that did, I mean, they didn't they don't look at that. Or I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to square the fact that you're, you know, at your school that their people would be just like that superficial uh aesthetic value would override any like substantive value.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, which yeah, it's very what's the word? It's hypocritical for sure.
Yeah.
It's contradictory, absolutely. But I mean not just, I mean just outside of art students, just general people as
Oh,
well, just my
okay.
age, like that's what I'm mainly talking.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe not.
As far
Okay.
as like my peers like in art school, like it's, I mean, I don't know, like most of my peers like in like my art school at least, they don't watch it. They don't,
Oh,
you
okay. Okay.
know,
So
like
I get
whatever.
it.
But
So,
like
okay.
music students and like, you know, dance students and theater kids, like sure, they're watching that.
Okay.
Like I feel I don't want to like discriminate and be like, oh, just because you're an art, like you draw and paint and like you treat art a
Fine
certain
artists
way,
or,
yeah, and therefore you have a different perspective on it, then you can't appreciate it. Like, no, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying like the majority of people that I've interacted with who have seen and enjoy Euphoria are not fine artists in
so
my
not looking at it in the way you would look at it, probably.
yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense to me than because I was thinking of other artists that analyze things the way that you do, and not all the other art métiers have to analyze things the way that you guys have to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're not, yeah. So that makes more sense to me, that it's the, you know, like the, and also you don't have that many friends in your specific program, like, right? And
Yeah,
so, yeah, so,
exactly.
got
Yeah.
it. Makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, it's the desensitization, it's the shock value of like all these like crazy elements going on, and questioning if that shock value actually has any substance to it, and like what it's actually saying outside of just romanticizing these terrible things, whatever, like that kind of thing. Now, moving on to The Idol. So you have, I don't think you've heard of this one.
No.
Just for some background context on it, I think it's honestly, the show itself had less like interest than the actual like build up to it.
Oh.
Because what happened was, okay, so first of all, the guy who directed Euphoria and like did like the made it look a certain way, right? So he was around, but the original director for The Idol was a woman. And for the story that they were planning to do, it was originally supposed to be, you know, a woman in the music industry being you know, taken advantage of by men and then sticking up for herself, that kind of thing. But then and one of the actors or one of the directors in that was The Weeknd, which is a musical
Oh.
artist. And he said like they were like 80% done with the script, and he was like, actually, we don't want you here anymore, lady. I'm gonna get the guy from Euphoria to come in instead.
Oh. Wow.
So there was
That.
already a whole like freak out moment of like, okay, anti-feminism, like what's he gonna do with the story now? It's 80% done. Like, well, they're gonna scrap it all now and just like what are they gonna do? And then it came out and it was the worst thing to ever exist. It like the
Oh.
story remained the same of like there was a woman in the music industry being you know, with men and all that stuff, but but instead it turned into the woman liked it.
Oh. Okay.
and
That's
and and then yeah.
it was
And
okay.
then it
So
turned, and then it was like the men
it
were the victims.
Did the weekend guy want it to be end up this way?
I have no idea, but The Weeknd was an actor in this as well, and he,
Oh,
I don't know. I think
wow.
he,
That so the whole thing changed, but that's
the whole
because
thing changed because, and again, and so then that brings into my points of like, okay, so was that all just like a giant hoax just to get people to talk about this show?
oh, interesting.
But
Okay.
that, but then, but like, but I'm honestly, I'm assuming it's real because God, it was awful. It was so bad.
Okay.
There's no way, like, but yeah, because I think it is real. Then it also brings into question like, okay, so like, is the problem the fact that the main problem with it, the fact that is like the woman was the one who was originally directing and then they kicked her off and that's the problem, or is it just straight up the script is awful and like the show is awful? Like, yeah. Like, is it an actual like feminist thing that's going on, or like some political layer over it, or is it because the show is actually bad? For me personally, I think the show is just actually bad. Like, and I've whether or not the woman or the man did it, like nothing could ever make up for the Weeknd's terrible performance. Nothing could make up for just the, oh my gosh, everything about it was terrible. The actors, terrible. The story, plot, like the pacing, terrible. Nothing made sense, and there's so many cringy moments. Oh my gosh, yeah. So,
Okay. So I have a question along those lines.
mhm.
How do you get through? Why do you put yourself through that when it's bad like that? Or what
Oh,
is it? What purpose does it serve when you
what purpose
like?
does it serve? Well, I mean, it's so I didn't actually watch it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
no, but I've seen like commentaries from other people who have
Okay.
watched it.
Okay.
Like, I've watched reviews, and the unanimous vote is it's
Okay.
awful. Um,
Okay.
and I've also just done my own research and like looked up like the articles about like all the things that were happening, and yeah.
Hmm.
So obviously I didn't want to see it because I wasn't going to support whatever that was, whatever was going on with that. But yeah, it's always interesting for me to just I always like to keep up to date on like what's hot, like what everybody's interested in. That's why I watched Euphoria. That's why I watched
Okay.
The Idol. That's what also that like I watch, okay, maybe not all of Euphoria. I watched like a couple episodes just to get a feel for it, and I watched it with you and mom just to get you guys' reaction, whatever. But and then I've also watched Black Mirror too, like all very popular shows, but you know, and like obviously I like one more than the others, but like it's all just because I like to be in the loop on like what everyone deems as the most interesting or the most popular, and like what is it that's so appealing about them.
Okay. So, but why? So why do you do that? That's an interesting thing to me. Why do you have that desire to be aware of all the things and at least have a perspective on why they're popular or that or other?
Well, I think it also it not only gives me an insight into what directors are wanting to create for the world and what people are wanting to put out in the world, but it also gives me an insight into what directors think that other people want to be put in the world. Like what they think audiences might want, or maybe even just what audiences want. Like, do audiences just want like uncensored sex on a screen and like, you know, all these crazy things like or you know, and again, shock value, like our directors just trying to, you know, make people freak out over like these like crazy controversies that are going on maybe around a show or even in a show, like whatever, like just for the shock value or because they're actually saying something, like what, or is it just adding to the desensitization like epidemic that's happening with our generation, like, yeah.
What like still I'm still always like trying to understand like how that helps you in your either in your work or just like what yeah I like you can know all these things, right? You can know about and I'm forcing you to think about these things is my whole point, is that like just because you know about these things and attitudes, does that benefit you at all? Like, does that benefit you knowing what audiences like, or what interest is it for you to know what that is? Because like you don't that's not necessarily in your art. Do you want to even subscribe to those things? So you know like is it important? Why is it important for you to be up on these trends and things like that? Or is this
because
because you're a young person and you want to know what's going on, or
no. It's because I want to be aware of what other young people in my generation are aware of and what they're interested in. Because like and it's also because I want to gauge the type of people that are interested in this stuff, like why people are interested in this kind of stuff, and therefore can kind of gauge what kind of audiences I want to reach. I obviously don't want to reach those people. I know that for sure, but like but it also makes me think about like, okay, like what can I do in my work to not cross those lines that I just described of like shock value and like, experimentation and like all this stuff for, just for like the wow factor. Like I want to have substance in my work, like all that stuff. Like, and I want to figure out like what really gets people interested in things. And so I pay attention to things that are happening that are super popular. So I'm like, why are they interested in that? And I do my research, I think critically about it, and then like I come up with whatever I think I imagine it to be, and then I'm like, okay, so and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm changing my process or changing what I'm doing with my work, but it changes my perception and ideas of how I'm going to make my work reachable or like impressionable to people. Yeah.
cool. No, that makes a lot of sense. I understand. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know that you like to make me think about these things, but I got you.
Okay. You
Already
did think
thought
about
these
them.
things.
Okay. Thank you for thinking about things.
Yes. I mean, you are my dad. Yeah, that's like the main thing that you ever taught me all 21 and a half years of life. So all I do is think. Sometimes I
Okay.
overthink. So yeah, thanks.
Cool.
But
All
yeah,
right.
but that's pretty much what I got
That,
so far.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
No, that
But
makes a lot of
no,
sense.
but now I want to ask you, like, okay, so now that like I've informed you on all these things, like, what do you think like is like so interesting about these shows to people? Like, why do you think what like
And
obviously
those,
you're not super interested in all that stuff, but like what are the elements that you might see in like Black Mirror or like other popular TV shows that interest people these days?
so Black Mirror, I think, was of like, I don't know the idol thing, so but I think well, just going on something I don't even know of, but just
Yeah.
the outline of what you discussed, it's just the controversy surrounding the things made it interesting. I mean, there's movies like that people want to see just because the way that it was the way that it was made, the stew in which that it was created, it was interesting, and so maybe to see the outcome was interesting, or a statement in and of itself, just go to see what became of the train wreck. I mean, people, I'll give you there's Zack Snyder Justice League cut that's on Cinemax, which was like I don't even know, 3-4 hours long. I don't even know what it ended up being. I could not watch it because there's, but they were
Too
like
long.
the Justice League was like, oh, it was so terrible because if they had just released the director's cut of it, everyone would have been satisfied. And you're like, no, nobody would have been satisfied. No one would have sat through this 4-hour thing. But like the fact that the only reason I even started to watch that thing was because everyone had been calling for it, and there was a whole like movement around getting this thing released and things like that, right?
Right. So yeah, so you were kind of participated in that thing of like everybody is excited about something and there's so much talk about it. And you're like, well, I guess I have to go see it now because there's all this talk about it.
Yeah, I'll make some attempt at it. I wasn't going to pay money for it, but I'll make some attempt to like see what if
Wait
it
till
was
it comes out on
worth it.
streaming services and then
Yeah.
watch it. Yeah,
Well,
sure.
it was only on streaming service, so it was only on
Oh,
Cinemax.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or Max. Then like Black Mirror, I think that was actually when it first started. That was actual social commentary that was like people were interested in engaging with, because like I said, like the most famous one at the time, the most famous one was that social credit score one, and how you were interacted with people. They'd give you a score, and then if you did something wrong, they ding you, and then what happens if your score goes down, and that whole interaction and stuff like that. That was so that was at the beginning, initially anyway. That was very much a substantive interaction with the medium, with the show. The Euphoria one, from what you said and the things I've seen, it was just spectacle. It was seeing weird crap in a stylistic way on the screen, and that was what drew people in. And it was stylistic and weird enough that it could last for, I don't know, did it last for more than a season? I don't know. I don't
It's
know if
got
there's two
it's on
seasons.
it's gonna third season's coming up at some
Oh,
point.
there's three.
So
Okay. Well, there's so people are interested in enough in the stylistic weirdness to like keep watching it. It for whatever reason, it just they're they're intrigued by, or they're like voyeuristic, maybe. I don't know what they want to get from this, but I honestly don't know how it could last three. I don't even, like I said, I couldn't get past two shows, and I couldn't, so I don't know what storyline could lead you to have three seasons. But yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, that one is spectacle of the show. The show's a spectacle of itself, and then like I said, the Idol one is spectacle because of how it was made and buzz around it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got. I hope that you can get something from it, from me
Yeah.
ranting about shows that
No,
are
that makes sense.
yeah.
Like I said, I always want to understand why you're thinking about those things and how it applies to your work.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, now it's your section.
yeah. Now it sounds better though. Okay.
Yeah.
My section is about art and tech, obviously, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested in things like 3D printing as art. So like, can the technology itself be the art? And so then the other one was like that I've seen is like, and I don't know if you categorize this as spectacle or art, but like the drones flying around and flashing, and then like in a pattern that is like a show. It's almost like fireworks. But some people classified that as art. Oh, that's a face. So I don't know what you're going to say about this. But so like, is that art? Is it a spectacle? Could it be art? Is a 3D printed thing art? Is it, what is it? Or what are your feelings on those things as art?
So the way that you phrased it was already really
Sorry.
interesting. The fact that you said, can the technology be the art? Okay. And then you went into the example of the
Okay.
drones and everything and like doing the flash, and it's like, wait, the
I'm
drones
all over
aren't
the
the
place.
art. The
Okay.
lights are technically the so elaborate when you say the phrase,
but the
can
programming,
technology be the art?
okay. So
Or is it more of technology can be the medium for art?
for the medium for art, medium for art. Maybe that's
okay.
Okay. So like yeah, maybe that's the best. Yeah, that's probably is. I think that's the way I phrased it originally in my head, but didn't say it
in your head, and then
in my
it came
head, I
out
said it was
something
medium,
else.
because I think I have that as my notes. It says medium because technology be the medium of art, and so yeah. Well, where's my art? Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I can't find it now. But yes, sorry. No need to look at my notes. So is technology, can it be the medium for art? I mean, we've talked about the camera as medium, as a technology, but the camera is not the art. But like the drone, I'm not even sure how I'm trying to phrase it, but what can you, how can okay, let's go with the simplest one. Can like 3D printed object be art?
Depends on the purpose.
Okay.
It depends on the intent. Again, like art to me, the intent is so important. I can't stress it enough. It's just like you can do I've seen so many people just do 3D printed, like, they do like a little like cat keychain or something.
Yes.
Is that art?
Well, even if you made a cat keychain that wasn't 3D printed, that wouldn't be art. It'd be a commercial trinket, right?
Yes, but are you saying that the layer that the 3D printed part is like that makes it more interesting, or
no? Could it like what would make a 3D printed object art? Well, like you say intent, but what do you mean by intent? I guess that's
I'm
what
saying, like, because like if they're just doing it because, oh, it's funny, oh, I can do a little, I can 3D print like a 3D little Groot statue, ooh, that's cute.
Yeah,
like they can do that. Like it's for fun, like, but then again, you can do art for fun. But again, it depends on like what you want, like, and what you want to do with it. Because it's like if you want to just little like 3D printed Groot statue for yourself, then that's like, okay, cute. But like if you're doing something where like if you want to like put it in a gallery, or if you want to like, you know, put it out there, like are you putting it out there because you want to show people how cool technology is, or do you want to do it because you want to show what technology can do and how technology can affect the art world?
Wow. You like the subject seems in my head like something, there's an answer to it. but
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I'm as an artist, I think, well, like we've discussed this before, the tool it's like AI art as a tool, chat GPT as a tool for creating something.
it's
Yes. Like
yeah,
even though
okay.
it's a completely different type of art and a completely different like art philosophy that I don't fully agree with, right?
Oh,
Like there's no I have no shade towards digital artists. I have no shade towards people who use chat GPT, no shade to AI art or whatever. But it's when it gets to the point of, all right, I don't know if you're doing this for show and just to mess around, or if but or if you're actually taking this seriously and you want people to take it seriously as art, because then that brings into a whole nother discussion for me. So
okay. So in I get like from that what you just said, I'm thinking that for it to be art, it can't be self-consciously the medium.
uh-huh.
Does that make sense to you, or did
Sort
I
of.
like,
Okay, you
so
can
like
expand.
if you like, for if a 3D printed piece of art to be a 3D printed piece of art, it can't be, it has to be a piece of art. It can't be a 3D printed piece of art. It has to be trying to be art, and the medium just happens to be the 3D printing materials. Is that a better way
That's
of?
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, because so any of these things that are just trying to like be fancy. Look at what I made with AI AI art, or look what a cool thing I made with this or that. Then those, like I said, those are self-consciously, they're aware that they are the what tools they're using. They're the tool is of primacy over what you're trying to say with the thing that you're with what the tool made. Is that
Sure.
fair? Is that too
That's
much?
no, that's fair. Yeah, that's a better way to phrase that. Yeah.
Okay. But can the art be also the exploration of that tool? Like,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because painting, right? You talked about how painting, like at times it's just exploring what paint can do, what a brushstroke can do and what a thing can do. And so,
Yes, sure. Like, I mean, yeah, you, like, I feel that, like, it depends on the type of artist you are and what you're interested in exploring conceptually, of course. But yeah, like, you can do that, like, just as much as, like, the impressionists could, like, play around with, like, showing the brushstroke and showing, like, the paint on the canvas rather than having it have that, like, full, like, complete look. Like, similarly, you can make a 3D printed thing look like a real thing, and then, you know, have people guessing like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, like this looks real but it's actually 3D printed, like, whoa. Or you can just make something look so obviously 3D printed and then like make some sort of commentary on that. Sure.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's okay. That makes in the art, in the sense of art, that in the way that we've discussed it, that okay, that's making much more sense to me. Because like even if you make, like if I make an AI generated art piece and just and make it in, like mostly like fantastical, and then in some weird way make it obvious that it is AI generated, then like I'm trying to say, like, look at this because it looks so real, but always remember that it's not,
Yeah.
kind of thing, in where you're injecting commentary into the piece. Then I can see that as art more so than if you just give me a straight piece that was generated and go, look at this wonderful image that I've created. It's just, then it's just an image, and you're like, it's a cool image, but it's not art.
Yeah.
Is I think I think that's where I'm
I
going
mean,
with it.
yeah, so something like that. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it always comes down to the intent. So,
Keep your microphone over your mouth because I can't.
whoops. It always comes down to the intent.
Yeah, no problem.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I think I think that's I think it's what I wanted to get out of this. It's just a better understanding of when you, okay, let's go back to the last one, which I did was the drone thing.
Okay, yeah.
Because that seemed to make your face contort the most. So the like, have you've seen the like drone displays, right? They programmed the drones to like manipulate color. Like there was a fancy one like in front of Mount Fuji they had that it would like the drones would all flying around and you'd form cherry blossoms and other chrysanthemums and all kinds of things, and it was a display. It was a spectacle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it almost looked like it could. I mean, it could be they could replace a fireworks show. Like it would be an environmentally sound fireworks show if you had drones. But
sure,
but like could that be turned into an art form? Like, can you imagine it as an art form?
Or I can, because it's already been done as in the context of art. Like I'll send you something about it like at some point later, maybe after this. But yeah, there are artists out there who have used technology to like drones and other sort of things, like even X-rays, like all sorts of stuff.
Oh, X-rays, interesting.
Very interesting stuff. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of see it, but no, but like, I mean, yeah, I think I think there is sort of that stigma around technology being used in art for, I mean, like it's more efficient. There's like not much, to really like harp on in the process, that kind of thing. It doesn't feel as hands-on, which I mean, I have said that before, but that's only coming from my bias / experience as a traditional artist who is very in touch physically with my work. So there's that. But I think there is validity in technology being used as the medium for art. So for the drones, like sure, it might be much easier for somebody to imagine it in the context of spectacle, like for like a safer, like environmentally safer, like fireworks, that kind of thing. But I can also imagine it like not necessarily like in a gallery, but like for performance art, or for like adding some sort of like context to a work. Like sure, yeah.
Ooh, okay, that makes sense.
Like there are light shows that exist, like light shows. Okay. Like gallery, like we went there, right? Oh. There was a light. There was literally a electricity light, and that was all a gallery.
Oh, that's true.
That was all art.
But see, that's where I go. Is it like when I'm there though? I'm all like, is this really art? So I question it. Sorry, it's my like my bias. Like I have the tendency to like identify with traditional art as art, as most people probably do.
Yes, so, as the general public so does.
It's sure. Like, so then it makes it hard whenever I encounter those in the wild. I tend to like forget about them because I've probably dismissed them because I'm like, what is
Correct.
This is not real, or it's just lights or something. I'm like,
sure.
So yeah,
I mean, surface level, sure, but like, I mean, again, if you maybe spent more time with it, like once you kind of like contemplated a little bit more, like sure, I mean, obviously to a point you can appreciate it, but I can understand as like somebody as a member of the general public who can't necessarily connect with contemporary art in that sense fully. There's no, I don't hold that against you. I'm like, as an artist, I'm not like, come on, Dad, get it together. Like,
no, but I think like, as we've discussed more of these things, I would be more like if I saw it in a space, in a gallery space, I would be more willing or accepting in like trying to understand why it's art and what they're trying to say with it, versus like previous to our discussions, I was just like, that's crazy. Okay, sure. Go do your weirdness, and you can have it. You can have your weirdness and put it in a gallery and say it's art. That's good for you.
Don't bother me.
Just don't bother me. But now I would, like I said, because of our discussions, I'm more prone to like, okay, what is this trying to be, and why is this understood as art and things like that? So yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. That helps me. My conclusion is that I'm still too judgmental about art, but that's okay.
That's okay. My father is a judgmental man, and so I have that side to me too, even as an artist who's supposed to be liberal, but I'm not. So
okay. So I get pop culture this week. or this time.
Yeah,
This is
what you
awesome.
got?
So what I have is fur babies. I try to understand fur babies. Like, what is with your generation? Or well, maybe it's a generation above you, but
That's
is it your
millennials.
generation?
Don't put that on us. Don't put that on us.
Oh, you're not
That's
old enough to
millennials.
have? Okay. So
They
why
failed us.
why what is this thing about like basically replacing children with pets? Like, are they like why? Like, are they just scared of things? Are they like are they, like they think they're what is the attraction to like having fur children or whatever, they fur babies, and treating their dogs and cats like children?
I think originally the term fur babies didn't have this, kind of a negative connotation towards
Oh.
it, this extremity to it,
Ah.
it was just another way of saying I don't have kids, but I have animals instead, so I'm going to call them my fur babies. It wasn't I don't think it was originally to say these animals replace human babies. It was just I don't have human children, but I have animals, and people might assume that I would have kids by now, but I have animals instead, so I'm just going to say they're my fur babies. Whatever. But again, because millennials love taking things too far, and then Gen Z has also participated in that kind of stuff. Well, Gen Z, we can get into that later, but yeah, millennials specifically, they kind of turn it into a personality trait. They turn it into with the rise of social media and social media presence. It's become a much wider thing of like, yeah, these are my fur babies, and everybody likes that for content, so I'm gonna keep that up, and then eventually I'm gonna get my perception all skewed of reality.
Oh. So it was content related. Like it became a thing.
I think it's so much attention based. That's the thing.
Okay,
Like you
okay.
would never say that to your mom. You would never say that to your closest friend. Like, I have fur babies. They'd be like, what is wrong with you? I've known
I'm a
you for
real
20
baby.
years. You don't say that. That's weird. But no, like it was obviously catered towards the social public. Like there's
Oh.
no way. Again, it's just millennials being attention whores, and then Gen Z following up by being narcissists. So yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
my
an
take.
okay. I have no take. I don't even know what to do with it. Like I've my
Well, have
only
have
take.
you encountered people who say fur babies?
No, well,
Well,
no, no, I haven't. Like a real person that's done it. Like it's all online people that say that. I've seen videos of people saying that
my
they have fur
point
babies.
proven.
Okay,
Online people, bro.
so it's oh, okay, so it's only an online phenomenon. But
I mean,
but
it can be brought. It is real in person, but again, it's
but I've seen
because of social media.
okay, but I've seen way too many people with their dogs in strollers. Like honestly, I've seen that like in the last well, since COVID ended and people are outside now. I've seen that, dozens of times now where people with their animals in strollers or in, pulled along in the, the little grocery cart, like that those expandable cart thingies that why, like it's a dog, or a cat, it's supposed to be moving, it's not supposed to be lying down. But like, what are you doing to this? And you're like crippling this animal by
Overly
carting them around.
domesticating
What are
it,
the heck
yeah.
are they don't, like, they're supposed to be walking, not being dragged around or cart. I'm like, so okay, so that is just that even putting them in the stroller and cart situation is all stems from social media. Like nobody really would have.
It stems from the content creator sort of mindset for sure. It's and then like when they're out in public, again, media warps your perception of reality, and so then at that point they're like, oh, they kind of treat like passersby as just people scrolling like through their content on their phone of like,
Wow, that's a
oh
terrible.
yeah, I'm gonna walk through and people are gonna notice and they're gonna say something, or they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, is that your baby? Nope, that's a dog. Oop, gotcha. Like, yeah. Like I
Okay,
don't know.
so
I don't.
oh my gosh. Okay, so this is all just terrible, like the evolution of society. It's basically dystopian when when
This is an episode of yeah, no, Black
Black
Mirror.
Mirror. Wait,
Next season, fur babies. That's the
oh my gosh, that's terrible. Okay,
yeah.
wow.
It's awesome. So yeah, there's that. I don't know. I mean, but then I can also get into Gen Z and our version of it, which is we have
Oh,
plant babies because
oh,
we're so
is that that's a
we
thing?
can't take care of ourselves, so we have plants. And we can't even take care of animals, so we have plants, and then we still kill them
Is
anyway.
that's true? That's actually a thing.
They don't call them plant babies, but they make it a whole thing of like, I can't take care of my own self, and my mental health is at an all-time low, and so I can't take care of another living being, let alone an animal or a human or whatever. So I got my succulents.
Succulents don't die either, right? They're pretty much like they're
Exactly.
unkillable. He's like, oh my, wow. Okay, I'll have to look that one up just for humor and for the sake of but oh my gosh, that just sounds so terrible.
Okay. So now I have to turn the question that you asked
Oh,
me on you, which is okay. So why do you feel the need to like look into these types of things about like my generation or millennials? Like, why do you feel the need to keep up to date on us?
I want to see what kind of people they are that have this attitude. Because
Okay.
because I want to avoid them. But no, just joking. I'm just joking. I'm sorry. I just want to be
No, you're not,
aware.
Dad. No, you're not. No, you're
Well,
not.
I avoid people for any reason, so that's not really. I don't have to find new ones. Really, realistically, I don't actually. But yes, I can give myself a veiled reason as to why I'm avoiding you because you have plant babies. It would be the external reason. In general, it's just I want to avoid people in general, but at least I have a specific reason for avoiding this particular person.
So you're saying you're looking for more specific reasons and more justifications for your already existing tendency to avoid people. I see.
No, but okay, that is the humor side, partially real, but mostly humorous. But it's like what, like if I'm trying to gather more context about the your generation and what leads them down this road. Like why? How did you get to the? How does your generation get to the point where it doesn't feel like it can take care of anything but a plant? Like
See,
how? Why? What made what? Like, and so by following someone who or looking at those videos, I may be able to glean additional information as to what led to this thing where you don't feel like you can take care of anything, like where that happened. And so I'm assuming that when I watch them I will see something along the lines of I don't have I like I don't know, they'll inform me of something that happened to them that why they don't feel like they can take care of anything. That's and then
they're gonna
and
trauma
then
dump. Yeah.
but then help you and your sister and any other children that I know avoid those things.
It's
Because I
okay. I
really
already do
don't.
that. I don't think it was even you. I just knew to avoid that. That's just
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, but
But
the things that led the causations that led up to them, like yes, you probably don't want to hang out with them, but the things you could still fall victim to the things that led them to become plant parents or whatever they're called.
sure.
I guess
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. So as far as like to answer your question of like how we even got to this point, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, I'll say it over and over again, like the internet has such a huge impact, far wider than any of us could ever even imagine, or have the capacity to even think of. And again, it's the internet is never an excuse for our behavior. It's just a really crucial factor, which is why I'm so anti social media and why I'm just not, I don't like being chronically online like so many people. And I think it mainly dates back to as early as I can think of, like early 2010s, like Tumblr. And when all those posts were coming out about like people like saying, oh, like they like the phrase would be she's broken, but then they would like highlight like he's okay in it.
Okay.
Like this is just really like it's so Tumblr was the beginning of the romanticization and the sort of like appeal of having issues and
Okay.
like being mentally unwell and like basically romanticizing problems that happen in your life. And which is why I feel that a lot of people just they always have some sort of reason, like that like using giant words like gaslight, trauma, like, you know, whatever, all these big, you know, trigger words. Trigger is another word, there you go, to describe like how they're feeling or where their mental state is at, because they think that they can never be interesting if they don't have a problem.
Okay, that makes sense. I see what you're saying. So then, yeah, that helps. The idea that the internet gives you clout, as they say, right, for those kinds of things. Yeah.
Never say that again, but yes, good job.
But
Yeah.
But that's right. All those kind of things, you know, garner you attention, and
Mhm.
on the internet, that is the biggest, you know, coinage. That's the coin of the realm, is attention. And
Mhm.
so if saying that you have trauma, saying you have this, and you know, gives you that attention, then you're going to try to find as ways to be part of that that group that has that whatever trauma that they're, you know, like real or unreal. That
Yep.
if you can say you have a trauma, then you're in the in crowd or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right. No, that helps a lot, actually. I think. I'm trying to think what I even asked you about.
I mean, well, I mean, I guess to kind of try to end it on a positive note, to kind of draw my conclusion at least. I mean, like, I think it's very common, at least for my generation and for a lot of people, to point out a lot of negative things about us and like what's currently wrong with the world. And
Sure.
and then therefore, of course, you know, pointing out bad things equals attention, you know, all that stuff, which I obviously like when I'm bringing these things into conversation, I don't want to be a part of that problem. I want to actually like, yeah, like expose people to these things, but do more than just that. Like be like, hey, so like I'm not telling you this information just for you to like listen to and then just be like, okay, move on with my day. I want you to actually critically think about this stuff and think about how it's actually affecting you and others around you. So that's all I got. I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, like I just like I can complain all day about all the problems that are going on with my generation, but I still take the extra step to be like, okay, so this is what I can do myself to avoid, falling into like any of those trends. This is what I can do to avoid, having issues with people that like do things that I might not agree with and whatever. But I'm also thinking about how I can actually politely help people, like, and at least be able to be aware of those problems and make some sort of change, because I don't want to complain about things and just scream into the void when there are so many ways available to actually help these people.
Okay.
So
Well, like
yeah.
I said, I mean, my like, like my goal in like when you say you tell me about these trends or something like that, my goal is not to like dump on the people necessarily, like, you know, like I'm joking that, you know, in the joking way, to dump on
Yeah.
them, but it really is the thing I can do to help is not, I don't feel like I'm not their generation. I have nothing to say to that generation that they would want to hear. But
Hmm.
what I can do is, like I said, is I can look out for that and try to understand, you know, the roots of those things, and then guide the people that I know and love away
Hmm.
from those things. That's my best, you know, recourse or course of action on
Hmm.
these things. You talk about how you know, if you can, to try to, you know, steer your generation away from these things that are problematic. I can't do that, but I can steer the, you know, people explicitly that are in my life away from those things. That's how I feel like I can do it. And, you know, people in my life being you, your sister, and then, you know, any young person that comes along, and, you know, in
Hmm.
Sunday school or whatever, you know, if, you know, anywhere I'm an adult influence on people,
Yeah.
that's where I see that coming in.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
online, I got no presence. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and then like for me personally, just also as like an artist, I think I don't know. I don't I find my view of avoidance is just letting the problem still exist. And so like while your way of like coping with these things and like helping other people is valid, like me personally, I don't like to avoid these things necessarily. Like I don't like to avoid having conversations with people about these things.
Sure.
Like I still want to address it, and like while I can, while I'm still young, and like
In
I
the
can
middle of
like
it.
in the middle of it. Yeah, like just like take it out while it's hot, like, yeah, like just all that stuff. So yeah.
All right.
But other
Well-
than that, my generation's weird. We're weird.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds good, Demi. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Is
Dad.
that, you have anything else?
Oh yeah,
No.
we got to draw our final conclusions. Good
Okay.
podcast.
Final conclusion. My conclusion is that art, I still get stuck on art and trying to understand what is art. I think that's, that's still my takeaway, is that because even when you talk about the shows and when we start at the beginning of the show, it shows the shows show me that like there's so many directions in which you can analyze something, right? You can
Yes.
analyze it on at face value, at the level of what it's trying to do, like not at the story level, but like at a meta level, at a meta level, and then you can analyze it at the context in which it is being created, and then going on to the art versus technology thing. It's still like all intent and like what's behind what you're trying to do, and then it's all, yeah, it's all like I still have, that's my conclusion. I still have trouble defining and figuring out what actually is art.
Well, everybody else is also struggling with that, so you're not alone.
Okay.
But I even me, so that's okay. But at least I know what my art is, and I think that's what matters for me. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you, Emmy.
Thanks, Dad.
Bye.